A vicious shinobi named Gabimaru the Hollow is sentenced to death after trying to relinquish his duties and escape with his wife. But there is only one way out. Gabimaru is about to be executed, but he is indifferent about it and claims he has no attachment to life, and death would be a pleasure. Unfortunately, he just won't die. The magistrate's office tries beheading him, but that doesn't work, as the blade simply breaks on his neck after multiple attempts. Later that night, he's visited by an inspector named Yamada Sagiri, and she's come to inquire about why Gabimaru won't die. The shinobis are the most skilled ninjas and assassins in the land who are taught to kill from infancy. They endure excruciating ordeals, with the survivors developing superhuman bodies. With the first execution attempt falling short, the next day, Gabimaru is burnt at the stake. They tie him and set him ablaze, but once again, Gabimaru doesn't die, and he even seems disappointed. Night falls, and Sagiri returns to conduct her interview again. She then asks if he's resisting their execution attempts, and he claims he's not. At sunrise, the magistrate's office takes him, and his legs are tied to bulls on either side to run in opposite directions, which should split him from groin to chest. But as they start running, Gabimaru appears to resist, and after a short while, the bulls are lying exhausted in front of him. However, Sagiri notices this, and at night she asks him how he got captured. He reveals that he tried to relinquish his shinobi duties and his marriage to the chief's daughter, but got tricked into a final mission where he was betrayed. He claims that the marriage was a living hell, and that his wife was driving him crazy with her kindness and innocence. Later, Sagiri is warned to be careful with Gabimaru as he is dangerous. She is also told of a rumor that the shinobis are immortal because they drank an elixir of life. Sagiri gets even more suspicious because Gabimaru claims to want death, but he resisted the arrest and used his powers to stay alive during execution attempts. However, he claims the next day would be his last, but once again, after being dipped in boiling oil, he still doesn't die. Later that night, he's taken underground, only to find Sagiri holding a katana. He then realizes she's an executioner from the Yamada clan, and if anyone can kill him, it's her. She charges at him, but he dodges all her attempts, and after a while, she reveals to him that he's been lying to himself because he has an attachment to life, and it's his wife who he loves so much. At first, he denies it, but eventually he admits it. Then she reveals a sheet containing an official pardon granting his freedom on the condition that he goes to the mystical island of Shinsenkyo to compete with other skilled criminals condemned to death to retrieve the elixir of life. However, the magistrates are not happy with this arrangement and threaten to kill both Sagiri and Gabimaru, but the shinobi simply uses his ninjutsu to engulf them in flames and afterward accepts the offer to gain his freedom. Sagiri remembers a time when she witnessed her father decapitate a man with a strike so perfect the man did not even know he had died. From that moment, she made it her goal to recreate that strike, but as she tries over the years, fear holds her back as she's always haunted by the people she executes. Back in the present, she arrives at the capital with the rest of the criminals bound for the shogun, and she places a cloth on Gabimaru's face, just like the rest of the men, because they ordinarily wouldn't get the chance to see the ruler. Reading through the criminals' files, she is shocked to see the heinous crimes they've committed. Soon, the instructions are given to the convicts, and they're shown the only survivor from the last expedition to the island. The man is no longer human and has flowers sprouting out of his body. Seeing that this is the fate that awaits them on the island, some of them change their minds, and the officials explain that whoever doesn't feel motivated to go can simply leave. But when one of the convicts stands up to leave, he's quickly executed on the spot. The officials then add that they would be monitored on the island, and whoever breaks the rules would be killed instantly by the Yamada clan. But there's more bad news for the criminals, because their numbers need to be reduced before leaving. Immediately, a criminal named Aza attacks the others, and an all-out fight for survival ensues. Amid all of this, Gabimaru, who is the most powerful among them, is neither attacking nor attacked. After a while, Gabimaru approaches the shogun and suggests another way to select them, but the guards term it disrespectful and offer whoever kills him an automatic spot on the expedition. Immediately, a group of convicts attacks him, even after he tries to reason with them. Eventually, he's forced to mercilessly end their lives. Everyone is terrified at what they just witnessed, and Sagiri observes the coldness in Gabimaru's eyes as he accepts the burden of taking more souls. She realizes that the reason she still has fears when killing is because she hasn't gained the resolve to accept the burden of the lives she takes. Not long after the shinobi's little massacre, the officials bring the fight to an end and take the remaining prisoners on the ship to the island. They arrive on the island, and each criminal is escorted by a samurai from the Yamada clan. Sagiri follows Gabimaru, who reminisces about a time when his Shinobi chief demonstrated the power of the elixir years ago, and admits that it exists. The two walk deeper into the very colorful island, and Sagiri expresses her amazement at the beautiful island. But Gabimaru tells her it's just a facade, and the place is more dangerous than she can imagine. Soon, Gabimaru frees himself from his bounds, and Sagiri insists that he remain bound as it was the shogun's order. After much arguing, he accepts the condition. But while he's still untying his hands, he's attacked by another criminal named Kiyun, a weapon-obsessed monk who wants to test his arsenal on the shinobi. Kiyun unleashes a barrage of attacks on Gabimaru, whose hands are still tied. The shinobi doesn't want to fight, but when Kiyun won't stop, he casually and easily kills him with the arsenal that was to be used on him. Gabimaru stands unscathed with his hands still bound, and Kisho, who was Kiyun's monitor, takes his head before heading off the island as his work is done. But not before warning Sagiri to be very careful with the shinobi. As soon as Kisho leaves, Gabimaru suddenly attacks Sagiri with a sword, attempting to kill her, claiming she would only waste his time. The two get opportunities to finish each other off, but hesitate each time. Gabimaru finally subdues her, having a clear shot. But suddenly, the dark force pushing him to kill disappears, and his wife's kind demeanor envelops him, pushing him to tears as he stops. Elsewhere, another criminal is stung by a butterfly having a human face and immediately cuts off his hand. Not long after, the hand starts to decay and sprouts out flowers, and shortly they're surrounded by strange and dangerous creatures they've never encountered before. As Gabimaru and the rest of the people on the island prepare for battle, he dons a mask and takes on a fish-head monster confronting him and Sagiri. While fighting, he recalls a shinobi code that states he should never fight an unknown creature, and decides to retreat, but when the monsters surround them, he goes into beast mode and uses his ninjutsu, and Sagiri can only watch in awe. While fighting, he gets injured and Sagiri too is restrained by the monsters, but thankfully they're assisted by another criminal named Yuzuriha. Afterward, she tries to seduce Gabimaru and suggests that they work together. The shinobi, however, does not trust her, but she explains that they don't need to trust each other. Yuzuriha seems to know so much about the land already, and when Gabimaru asks how she does, she reveals that she seduced another prisoner and used him as an experiment to study the creatures before killing him. At the same time, the samurai named Senta, assigned to her, also discovered that the monsters and statues on the island are extremely religious. Gabimaru finally agrees to work with her, but warns her to stop attempting to seduce him, as he is married. While the others are still talking, Sagiri suddenly collapses. Elsewhere, we see Toma and Aza, two brothers on the island working together. Toma infiltrated the Yamada clan to save his older brother, who is a notorious bandit king. The two face giant monsters who appear to be religious, and after killing some, they realize that this alleged paradise might just be hell, and decide to get the elixir of life for themselves. Sagiri finally wakes up in a cavern and isn't in the best shape. A senior samurai named Jin, who was also escorting Yuzuriha, informs her that she was poisoned. They come out to meet Gabimaru, Yuzuriha, and Senta. Later on, the five of them combine their discoveries, and when Sagiri reveals that she didn't see reproductive organs on the strangely shaped creatures, Gabimaru chimes in and states that it only means that they're immortal, and the elixir would be wherever the creatures came from. Afterward, Jin suggests that Sagiri return home while he takes her place because of her current condition. Elsewhere, Samurai Tensen and his prisoner Nuragai, who he doesn't know is a girl, are on a boat trying to escape. But along the way, their boat is destroyed by a sea monster. After a tough battle, they escape from the monster on another boat. Later that night, Sagiri and Gabimaru have a chat, and the two realize how much they've helped each other to grow since they first met. The next day, Sagiri tells Jin that she wants to stay on the island, and even though it provokes him, she stands her ground. But suddenly, Jin is viciously attacked by a giant prisoner, and Sagiri can only watch in horror. That brings us to the end of today's recap. See you on the next one.